hey guy, we like you. We're criminals and we look up to you. Batman was all like, damn, I hate this. I'm going to go buy Batman now. F all y'all villains. We are vengeance. Just kidding, we're the Sons of Haddonfield. As always, I'm Ian, and this is Josh.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the Batman.
My favorite movie of 2022 so far. I said it. I said it. Literally my favorite movie of 2022 so far. And I have loved some of the movies that have come out this year.
Some of them?
Most of them that I've seen.
Yes. Yeah, the Batman is definitely in the top two. Probably number one.
Top two, and it's not two.
And it's, yeah, one or two, and it's not two.
But it did just come out on HBO Max. We were finally able to see it.
Yep.
We had plans to go see it at the theaters. That fell through. Couldn't make it. Life happens. It's okay.
Yep.
So, finally came out.
HBO Max.
Yeah, thank goodness we don't have to wait like
Another
4
month.
months for it to come out.
One more month.
Whew, we got to see it.
May 24th.
Well, that's when the Blu-ray comes out, yeah.
Yeah. Where should we start?
Well, let's start with the tone and the mood of this movie. So, I think this is the Batman film that I've been personally waiting for. I'm a huge Batman comic book fan. We
For
both
sure.
are, you know. And I just feel like he's such a dark character, and the storylines are so dark in the comic books. And then they make the movies, and they try to make them a little bit more lighthearted. Even the darker Batman movies, like The Dark Knight, great movie. I love it. It's still not as dark as this one was. And I don't just mean like the color palette, which was very dark in this one, but the tone, the atmosphere, the storytelling, the storyline, all very dark and moody. And that is what I love from the Batman comic books.
And pulling off of what you said, the comic books, I believe that they pulled from, Tim Seeley's The Long Halloween, and then the follow-up to that, the Catwoman story, When in Rome, a lot for some of their ideas for the movie. And I also saw tones from Scott Snyder's Year One sprinkled in throughout the film.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they also borrowed some, I can't remember the name of the storyline off the top of my head, but the fact that, this is going to have spoilers, spoiler warning right now, that Selena Kyle was Carmine Falcone's daughter. I think they touched on that in a series in 1999.
Yeah, it's also in the When in Rome.
Is it in that one too? Okay.
It's kind of connected
Okay.
to that whole storyline.
Nice.
And it, like how the villains, like you said, it's much darker. Like, for instance, the Riddler very much resembles
The Zodiac.
the Zodiac Killer, with his attire and his ciphers and code. And like compared to Jim Carrey's version,
Oh my goodness.
which is kind of laughable. Obviously, it was the 90s. That's what they were going for. The Riddler is a scary guy. And yeah, this movie proves how scary that character can be.
One of the things that I was so looking forward to about this movie was I saw in an interview with Matt Reeves before the movie came out that they were modeling the Riddler after the Zodiac Killer. And if you're a true crime fan like me, I love reading about serial killers. The Zodiac Killer has always been, I hesitate to say my favorite because that's bizarre. I don't have a favorite serial killer, but one that I kind of have studied the most.
Most intriguing.
Most intriguing to me and kind of the scariest to me, honestly, has always been the Zodiac Killer. So I was really pumped for that aspect. Now, I did not think that they would go to the extreme that they did with this character. When I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And when I saw the costume, I'm like, oh, well, that's where they got the idea for the Zodiac, from the Zodiac, is the costume. That's not it. You got the costume almost identical to what Zodiac wore. Then you got the ciphers. Famous Zodiac was known, probably what he's known the most for was the ciphers that he made.
The taunts, yeah.
And then things that you probably wouldn't know if you're not like a true crime person, if you're not really a Zodiac person, you probably wouldn't pick up on the aspects of like the way that Paul Dano spoke as the Riddler, the things he said, the characteristics that he had, all very much resembled Zodiac Killer. Like even him starting off by saying this is the Riddler speaking. The Zodiac was famous for saying this is Zodiac speaking. So, like, give me all of that. Give me all of that. I love this so much.
And the kills were very brutal.
Yeah.
They, like, to me, I got vibes from Saw.
Yeah.
And a lot of other films like that, with the head trap and then the chest trap with the rats. Very, very Saw-esque.
Yeah, I picked up on those vibes too. It felt like a mix between like Saw and like a gritty detective movie like Seven, almost,
That's exactly how I felt.
So we've talked about Paul Dano. Where does the Riddler rank for you in the Batman villains in the movies? What tier is he fall into?
Well, he's definitely a top tier villain when done correctly.
No, I mean like, as an actor portraying him. So like, where do you compare him to like Heath Ledger's Joker?
I mean, I feel like he did a fantastic job, and it's right up there with that performance. I would even say Joaquin Phoenix's Joker might be slightly higher than Heath Ledger's.
Yeah.
But it's like right there. Very terrifying, spot on. I won't think of the Riddler the same, even though I've always kind of thought that villain was very creepy and could be creepy. My favorite villain has always been Mr. Freeze, and I'm hoping they can work in a way to do that either on the HBO series that's coming or in like a further sequel. I know there was hints of the Joker.
Yep.
Obviously, the Joker's Batman's number one villain, arch rival. So they were obviously going to go somewhere with the Joker at some point. I'm excited for that. I'd also be excited if they went with the Court of Owls storyline.
That'd be cool. The Scott Snyder storyline, Court of Owls, would be really cool. And I think they could. I think Matt Reeves has kind of set up a universe now of what we can expect from the upcoming Batman movies. And I think the Court of Owls would fit into this Gotham, this story very well. I understand, like you said, that them going with the Joker, or at least teasing the Joker for the next Batman movie as the villain. I do feel like it's a bit played out. I love the Joker. He's one of my favorite villains, if we're talking about that. We have seen it before, though. And
A lot.
I think Matt Reeves, he could do something different with the character. Like he did with the Riddler. He took that in a completely different direction, and look how awesome that turned out. But we've seen the Joker before. And like you said, I don't think anybody is going to live up to Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker. So I am right there with you on the Mr. Freeze bandwagon. I would love to see a very grounded and mature Mr. Freeze done well.
If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend Scott Snyder's books. One of the ones he did was for the annual, the yearly release, not a part of the series. It was about Mr. Freeze. And it turns this guy who you're like, oh, he cares about his wife. Straight up psychopath, rewrote it completely differently. That Mr. Freeze would be terrifying.
Yeah. Not the 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No. Welcome to the Ice Age.
Not that. That's the only Mr. Freeze we've gotten in a movie, and I feel I feel shorthanded about that. I want a good Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
But whatever. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. How do you think he did?
I think he was fantastic. And if I must say, props to the makeup department, because if I hadn't known that was Colin Farrell, I would have been hard pressed to be like, "Oh, that's Colin Farrell."
Yeah.
He looked nothing like Colin Farrell. The makeup team is probably going to be nominated for an Oscar.
Hopefully.
If the Academy knows their shit,
which they've proven that they don't sometimes.
But yeah, he was fantastic, and I believe he's going to show up in the Arkham series on HBO.
I think it's going to be mostly centered around him,
Mhm.
right? So I'm really looking forward to that. I think he did a very, very good job. He wasn't the main focal point for a lot of the movie.
And that's good.
That's good. We don't need him to be the main focal point in this movie, but I think he did kind of steal the scenes that he was in. He did a very nice job with that. And then Catwoman, how do you think she did?
I think Zoe Kravitz's performance was spot on.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was what I wanted from those storylines that we've mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She nailed it.
Yeah. I have nothing bad to say. Really enjoyed her. Again, it wasn't really she wasn't the main focal point, but she kind of tied the entire story together, which I thought was really cool. I like that aspect a lot.
For sure.
The horror elements in this movie, like you said, we talked about Saw, we talked about Seven. At times, I didn't even feel like I was watching a comic book movie. I felt like I was watching a literal horror movie.
The other movie I forgot to mention the vibes I got. I got heavy Alan Moore Watchmen vibes from this. I feel like Batman could have been Rorschach in that alternate storyline.
Yeah, definitely.
The way the writing was about the narration throughout. But yeah, very heavy, very dark, in your face, gritty, moody.
I would definitely recommend, if you're a horror fan, I would definitely recommend it. Again, a lot of the Batman comic books rely heavily on horror elements. It's probably what drew me to him the most when I was younger, is because of those aspects. And in the movies, we just haven't really gotten that. Like, because I don't count, Joker would come close to that, but I don't really consider Joker a Batman movie. Even though it's Joker, you know.
Yeah.
It's,
A lot of studios, I think, are afraid to go too dark.
yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of these stories, like, not just Batman, but, like, there are Superman ones that are really dark, and there's some other ones that are dark, too. But they're just afraid to do it.
They're afraid to do it. They're afraid. They're pulling their punches. They're afraid to unleash them. And I'm very thankful that they did not pull their punches on this one. Matt Reeves, the director, I think the directing was phenomenal. We were watching a 3-hour movie, and it felt like maybe an hour. Like, it went by so fast. So the pacing, I would say, was spot on. It opens off with a bang right away. It opens off with the gruesome kill from the Riddler. And, you know, that opening scene gave me strong the Strangers vibes, with the Riddler just kind of hanging out in the mayor's house. And then kind of stepping into the light.
As it panned back and forth between them.
That gave me strong Strangers vibes with that one. Really cool beginning,
Very
intro
tense,
to the movie. And it really doesn't let up from there. It has some tender moments, some softer moments, but they don't feel out of place. They feel like they belong right where they are. So the directing, the pacing, phenomenal. The acting,
Top notch.
fantastic. I know there's a lot of people that were very unsure about Robert Pattinson as Batman. Guess what? He nailed it. Robert Pattinson is the emo Batman that we all deserved.
Yeah, he did a great job. And when I was joking about him not being great, I was more of like jokes. Like, I knew he was going to do good in the end, but everyone was complaining about it, so I felt like it was fun to pretend to complain too.
Go watch the trailer reaction to this movie from a year or two ago that we posted, and you'll see nothing but this guy complaining about it.
all for you guys.
So I loved it. I cannot wait to see him as Batman again. The fight choreography, awesome. He was brutal. He did not hold back. So I loved that aspect of it also. There wasn't anything I would change about this movie. You?
There's only one thing.
What is that?
I would make it longer.
You'd make it longer.
And give us the sequel already.
You already want the sequel. You want Joker now.
No, I want Mr. Freeze.
Well, it's gonna be Joker.
I want the Court of Owls.
Barry Keoghan, I think, is signed on to play the Joker.
Yeah.
Good actor.
Yeah.
Good young actor. He's done a lot of good things. I think he was just in the Eternals movie.
Yeah.
For Marvel, so he's kind of playing double dipping in both Marvel and DC right now.
Good for you, kid. Make that money.
Any final thoughts on the Batman?
Yes.
Go for it.
Court of Owls with the Joker, because I believe those stories mesh at some point.
You just said that.
I did.
You feel really strongly that you want the Court of Owls.
I do. Court of Owls and the Joker, mix them together, because that's...
They could do that. They could easily do that.
They could.
And I could definitely see them doing that. I would also like to see a Hush.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I think that would play well into this kind of darker universe.
I believe that was written in blood.
Yeah.
In one of the scenes, and that was my immediate thought.
I don't know if there was an Easter egg, maybe what's to come, hopefully, or if it was just a coincidence, happened to be Hush. We'll never know, unless you're Matt Reeves, probably. And also, if we're talking about acting, like we have before in this video, we have to mention Jeffrey Wright as Detective Gordon. What do you think about him?
I thought he nailed the role, honestly. For me, my favorite Gordons have been Jeffrey Wright in this new one, obviously, but also J.K. Simmons from the Justice League.
From Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah. Those two have been my favorites so far.
I loved Jeffrey Wright as Detective Gordon. I love that he was pretty trusting of him. I love the relationship, the kind of dynamic that he and Batman had throughout the entire movie. That was really cool, I thought. Also, Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Surprisingly, to some, not to me, I think he nailed it.
I was going to say, why are you surprised that Andy Serkis was good?
I know people were skeptical about Andy Serkis being Alfred, and he's a good actor. He's just normally known for his work not in human form.
Yeah, and he's always playing something.
In CG, with his little ball suit.
Yes. But I think he did a great job. I was really excited to see him as kind of like the tougher Alfred.
The military man.
So we didn't get to see Alfred in action, really. He got hurt, and that was sidelined him. But that dynamic there, again, was really cool, and I look forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah. And
he did mention that he taught Bruce how to fight. So
and he was clearly smart because he was solving the ciphers.
Yeah. So that was really cool. I feel like I understand the title, The Batman, now, because I feel like this was a very Batman heavy and not very heavy on Bruce movie. And isn't that what we all want? Like, when we go see a Batman movie, don't we want to see Batman more than Bruce Wayne?
They're the same person.
They are, but do you know what I mean?
I also feel like it was called that because I don't think he really thought of himself as Batman. He thought of himself, as he kept saying,
as vengeance.
And that's what he called himself, but other people were calling him Batman. And he kind of was like, I'm vengeance. I'm not Batman. And then when the villain was like, hey guy, we like you. We're criminals and we look up to you. Batman was all like, damn, I hate this. I'm going to go by Batman now. F all y'all villains.
That's the plot of the movie in 5 seconds.
That's my synopsis.
I feel like he is Batman. I feel like he doesn't really feel comfortable as Bruce. So that was kind of cool. I feel like he's his most authentic self when he's being Batman.
Agreed.
And I think Robert Pattinson did a good job displaying that. Even when he was being Bruce Wayne, he was still Batman.
Yeah,
he still had that energy,
you know?
And he was kind of a recluse, kind of doesn't go out much. So we're used to the playboy philanthropist Bruce Wayne, which I don't really like. I've never really liked that part of Batman. So I was kind of happy to see them dial that back a lot in this movie and have him, because he's not, like, he's a very damaged, dark person. And so when he's being Bruce Wayne,
he puts up appearances.
Yeah, but I was kind of happy to see him be like, you know, screw that. I don't care. I don't care what people think. I'm who I am when I go out. So that was kind of cool to see. I kind of like that aspect also. 5 out of 5 for me.
5 out of 5 for me as well.
I will probably watch it again in the immediate future.
I've already pre-ordered that Best Buy Steelbook.
There you go. So that is it for you guys tonight. Review of the new 2022 film, The Batman. You're already here. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that bell to get notified every time we post a video. And we promise we will not make you solve a riddle to watch it.
Or will we?
Well, that's where they have to hit the bell to get notified. You can follow us on Instagram at Sons of Haddonfield or our personal accounts at Horror Sensei,
And I Back Joe.
on Letterboxd at Husker Sensei,
And I Back Joe.
and of course on Twitter at Haddonfield Sons. Thank you so much for sticking around with us and watching the video. And until next time, remember, everyone loves a goddamn lobster roll.
And we'll see you in Gotham City.